What's up, Steelers Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Fix Daily. And today, man, this one feels different. This one isn't just another Week 4 preview. It isn't just another trip across the pond. This is Ireland. This is Croke Park. And this is all about Dan Rooney. Now, if you're new to this story, let me set the stage. Mike Tomlin said it himself this week. When the Pittsburgh Steelers take the field against the Minnesota Vikings in Dublin, he's going to have one man on his mind. The late Dan Rooney, the ambassador, the patriarch, the reason the black and gold and the emerald isle are forever tied together. Tomlin didn't just mention him in passing, he got real about it. He said, "I think a lot about the late ambassador Dan Rooney and how fired up he would be about this trip, how important the development of this trip was for him." And you could feel it. This wasn't coach speak. This was Tomlin, reflecting on the man who hired him back in 2007 when nobody outside a handful of league insiders even knew his name. Think about that for a second. Tomlin was 34 years old. He was coming off a short stint as defensive coordinator in Minnesota. He walks into that interview room in Pittsburgh, and Rooney, this guy who's seen every kind of coach, every kind of personality, every style, he walks away dazzled. That's the word that's been used, dazzled. And he makes the call, hires Mike Tomlin. And the rest? That's Steelers history. 17 years later, Tomlin is still here, still leading, still talking about the man who gave him his shot. So yeah, this trip is business. Tomlin said it himself. We're not out here for sightseeing. This is a business trip. But don't judge him if his mind wanders. Don't judge him if, while he's walking out onto Croke Park, he pauses for half a second and thinks, Dan Rooney would have loved this. And let's be real, Rooney's fingerprints are all over this. He wasn't just the U.S. ambassador to Ireland from 2009 to 2012 under President Obama. He wasn't just the guy who co-founded the Ireland Fund back in '76 to support peace, culture, and education on the island. He was the living, breathing bridge between Pittsburgh and Ireland. The Rooney family traces their roots back to Newry, County Down. They came over in the 1840s, like so many families did, and by the 1880s, they were part of Pittsburgh. That's the story. That's why this game feels more like a homecoming than a road trip. And get this, Croke Park has only ever hosted one American football game before, Steelers versus Bears, preseason 1997. That was Rooney's vision too. Pittsburgh won that game, 30-17. But Sunday? This is different. This is the first regular season NFL game ever played at Croke Park. 75,000 fans, terrible towels in the Dublin night, and a matchup that feels like it was made for the moment. Now let's pivot, because as much as the legacy matters, there's football to play. The Steelers are 2-1, the Vikings are 2-1. Both teams feel like they're on the rise, both fan bases are buzzing, and this is going to be a showcase game for the league. For Pittsburgh, the storyline is health. Biggest news of the week? Joey Porter Jr. and DeShon Elliott, two starters in the secondary, back at practice. Limited, but back. And man, do the Steelers need them. Because across the field, you've got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hockenson. If you're rolling with backup corners and safeties, that's a nightmare. But if Porter Jr. and Elliott are out there, that's a puncher's chance. That's hope. And let me tell you, Jabril Peppers earned himself a role. Tomlin said it flat out. He played with energy, he communicated like a vet, and he forced a fumble, recovered it, made tackles. That's how you stick. Even when Elliott returns, don't be shocked if Peppers is still on the field in packages. Meanwhile, Nick Herbig is about to get a spotlight. His brother Nate just had a tryout with the Steelers to shore up the O-line depth, but Nick's got a real role Sunday, because Alex Highsmith is out with that high ankle. So it's Watt and Herbig on the edge. And look, if you watched the Patriots game, you saw it. 10 pressures, 4 quarterback hits, and that strip sack fumble recovery that TJ scooped up. The kid plays with a motor. That's the kind of performance that tells you the moment isn't too big. And I've got to highlight Cole Holcomb. The guy missed a year and a half. That's lonely. That's brutal. And what did he do? He came back and logged 50% of the snaps last week. Tomlin called him a downhill thumper. That's Steelers DNA. That's a guy you want in short yardage. And man, short yardage has to improve. New England converted 4 of 5 fourth downs last week. That cannot happen against Minnesota, not with Jefferson on the other side. You get them in 4th and short, you've got to bow up. One stop could be the difference between a W and a long flight home. All right, that's the scene. Dan Rooney's legacy, Croke Park history, the Steelers' health picture, and the emotional undercurrent that makes this week special. In the next block, we'll dig deeper into the matchup. Aaron Rodgers versus Carson Wentz, Warren versus that Vikings front, and why Calvin Austin might be the X factor under the Dublin lights. Here we go. All right, Steelers Nation, let's keep it moving. Block 2 is where we lock in on the matchup. Steelers versus Vikings in Dublin on a stage Dan Rooney dreamed of. Now let's not sugarcoat it. The Vikings aren't flying over here just to be part of Steelers history. They're coming in 2-1, and they've got confidence. Last week they hung 48 points on the Bengals with a backup quarterback. Yeah, you heard that right. 48. That's not a typo. So who's under center? With rookie J.J. McCarthy sidelined, it was Carson Wentz stepping in. Now look, Wentz isn't the MVP candidate he once was in Philly, but he's still got a cannon, still has legs, and when he's playing free, he can sling it. Against Cincinnati, he did just that. And when you're throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hockenson, well, life's a little easier. Let's talk Jefferson first. The guy's a cheat code. Last year, 103 catches, 1,533 yards, 10 touchdowns. That's in an offense that had issues at quarterback. He's smooth, he's explosive, he's got that wiggle after the catch, and he makes contested grabs look routine. Now add Jordan Addison to the mix. Former Pitt Panther, former USC star, first-round pick in 2023. His rookie year, 63 catches, 879 yards, 9 touchdowns. That's WR2 numbers in a lot of places. For Minnesota, that's WR2 behind Jefferson, which is insane. And don't sleep on Hockenson. He's the second leading receiver on the team this season, and he's the type of tight end that stresses linebackers and safeties. Too fast for your thumper, too big for your nickel. So when you put those three together, that's why this secondary situation matters so much. Getting Elliott and Porter Jr. back on the grass? That's the story. Because if those two are still sidelined, Jefferson and Addison are licking their chops. Now let's flip it. Steelers offense versus Vikings defense. Aaron Rodgers, in Ireland. Let that sink in for a second. This dude has played in Super Bowls, won MVPs, but there's still something magical about Rodgers taking snaps in a place like Croke Park. He's built for the moment. And here's the thing. Rodgers doesn't need to throw for 400 yards for the Steelers to win this game. What he needs to do is protect the football, take advantage of mismatches, and hit the shot plays when they're there. DK Metcalf is the obvious one. At 6'4", 235, he's a matchup nightmare. Minnesota's corners are physical, but they haven't faced anyone built like DK yet this season. Rodgers loves those back shoulder throws on the boundary, and when Metcalf is bodying up defenders, it's borderline unfair. But don't forget Calvin Austin III. His speed is the great equalizer. You give him one-on-one with no safety help, Rodgers is looking his way. And Roman Wilson, the rookie out of Michigan, he's starting to flash. You can tell Rodgers trusts him in those option routes. The little 6-yard pivot, the quick slant when the linebacker shades too wide. That's how drives stay alive. And then there's the run game. Jaylen Warren is the heartbeat. This guy runs like every carry might be his last. Low center of gravity, breaks arm tackles, and when he gets into the second level, he's a problem. Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, has been saying it all along. He wants balance. Not air raid, not ground and pound triple option. Balance. That means Warren has to get 15 to 18 touches. Sprinkle in Kenneth Gainwell to keep him fresh, and you've got a backfield that can control tempo. And look, short yardage has been an issue. 2 third and shorts last week against the Patriots ended drives. That can't happen again. You've got Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu as your young bookends, Sumalo as your vet interior presence, and rookie Zach Frazier anchoring at center. That's the foundation. They've got to start leaning on people. Ireland deserves to see the Steelers impose their will. Now let's sprinkle in some defense again, because I can't say enough about TJ Watt. The man is playing like he's on a mission, and maybe he is. First international regular season game for the Steelers? Watt wants to put his stamp on it. You know he's visualizing a strip sack late in the fourth, terrible towels waving, crowd going nuts. He lives for that. And with Highsmith out, it's Nick Herbig's time to prove he belongs as a starter-caliber edge in this league. He flashed against New England. Pressures, hits, hustle plays. Now it's about consistency. Vikings tackles better be ready because he plays with relentless energy. Don't overlook the interior either. Keanu Benton is coming into his own. Cam Hayward, even late in his career, is still the tone setter. And rookie Derek Harmon is starting to flash the traits that made him a first-round pick. This is a defensive line that can eat if they win first down. So what does it come down to? To me, 3 things. 1. Explosive plays. The Steelers don't need a 75-yard bomb, but they need 2 or 3 chunk plays to flip the field. Rodgers to DK, Rodgers to Austin, hit those shots. 2nd, 3rd and 4th down defense. Last week, New England converted 4 of 5 on 4th. That cannot happen again. Minnesota will go for it. They trust their weapons. You've got to get off the field. 3. Turnovers. This is Tomlin's bread and butter. Peppers already showed he can punch the ball out. Watt is always lurking for the strip. Rodgers, when he's clean, doesn't turn it over. Win the turnover margin, you win the game. And look, beyond the X's and O's, there's something about Steelers fans traveling. Whether it's London in 2013, whether it's Dallas for a random regular season game, whether it's LA where the stands turn black and gold, Steelers Nation shows up. And you better believe Dublin is going to feel like a home game at times. Terrible towels in Ireland. Can you picture that? It gives me chills. Dan Rooney's smiling down, no doubt. But I guarantee you, when those towels start waving in Croke Park, Mike Tomlin's going to crack a grin too. Because this is Steelers football on the world stage. All right, in the next block, we'll talk about the injury report in detail, Nate Herbig's potential return, and why Cole Holcomb's comeback might be one of the most underrated storylines of this season. Plus, I'll give you my keys to victory in Ireland. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers Nation. This is where we wrap it all together. We've talked about Dan Rooney's legacy, about Croke Park, about Rodgers and DK, about Jefferson and Addison. But now, let's zoom in on what's right in front of this team. The injury report, the roster moves, and the path to leaving Dublin 3-1. First, the big updates. 2 words Steelers fans have been waiting to hear: Porter and Elliott. Joey Porter Jr., limited participant. DeShon Elliott, limited participant. Both have been out since week 1, and both could return in time to face one of the nastiest receiving duos in football. If they're active, that's huge. Not just because of talent, but because of stability. Young corners like Dante Kent and depth guys like Brandon Echols have held the fort, but Porter Jr.'s length and Elliott's range change everything. Now, not all the news is good. Alex Highsmith is still out. Left high ankle sprain. He tried to tough it out in week 2, but it wasn't right. He's sitting this one, and it makes sense. No need to risk a season for 1 week. But again, that means Nick Herbig is the man. He's got to play with that same edge, that same juice. And let's be honest, if he flashes again, he's not coming off the field even when Highsmith returns. That's how competition works in Pittsburgh. And how about Cole Holcomb? The guy missed a year and a half. Mental toughness beyond words. Tomlin said it. There's a loneliness in rehab. It's you, the training room, and the grind. And Holcomb never blinked. Last week, he logged 50% of the snaps. He thumped downhill. He was exactly what this defense needed. Tomlin called him a downhill thumper, and in this matchup, that matters. You're facing Hockenson, you're facing runs that test the interior gaps, and you need that mentality. Holcomb's return might be the most underrated boost of the year. Now let's talk about Nate Herbig. Yeah, he's back in the picture. The Steelers hosted him for a tryout with Max Sharping lost for the season. And if he signs, that's a great insurance policy. He knows the playbook, he knows the room, and oh yeah, he's Nick Herbig's brother. Family vibes in the locker room never hurt. Remember, he tore his rotator cuff last year, missed all of 2024, and then abruptly retired with Washington this summer. But now, he's thinking comeback. And Pittsburgh makes sense. Depth matters, especially with 2 rookies starting up front. All right, let's shift gears into the keys to victory. Number 1, win on early downs. This game is not the place for 2nd and 10, 3rd and 9. You've got Rodgers, you've got Warren, you've got DK. Stay ahead of the chains. Balance, patience, and then take the shot when the Vikings load the box. Number 2, tighten up short yardage. I can't stress it enough. New England converted 4 of 5 on 4th down last week. Minnesota is going to test that, especially with Wentz's mobility. Tomlin already admitted they need to be willing to play 11-on-11 football. That means quarterback runs, that means spies, that means trusting Watt and Benton to reset the line, get one stop in a big moment, and it swings the game. Number 3, tackle in space. Jefferson and Addison will get catches. That's reality. The question is, do those catches turn into 20-yard gains or 6-yard gains? Peppers showed last week he can communicate and trigger downhill. If Elliott is back, that stabilizes things even more. But tackling in space is the key. Number 4, Rodgers' ball security. The man's a master of protecting the rock. Keep it that way. Take the throws that are there, avoid the late hero balls. A clean sheet for Rodgers probably equals a win. Number 5, splash play from the defense. Tomlin's defenses live for the moment. Watt strip sack, Queen interception, Peppers punch out. 1 turnover, 1 short field. That's the difference in a game like this. And let's not forget, this isn't just about the scoreboard. This is about representing the Shield, representing Pittsburgh, representing the Rooney name in Ireland. Mike Tomlin said it himself. It doesn't get old to represent our game of American football on the international stage. And he's right. This is bigger than just week 4. Can you imagine the scene? Rodgers drops back, hits DK on a post, 40 yards downfield. Terrible towels whipping in the Dublin air. The crowd at Croke Park, a mix of Irish fans and traveling Yinzers, erupting. And somewhere, up above, Dan Rooney smiling down on it all. That's what Sunday could feel like. So here's my bottom line. The Steelers have a chance to do something special, to go 3-1, to handle their business against a tough opponent, and to honor the man who made it all possible. It's not going to be easy. The Vikings are 4-0 in international games. They've never lost overseas. But streaks end. Standards travel. And the standard is the standard. Steelers Nation, this is the week. Get your towels ready. Get your voices ready. And let's take care of business in Dublin. Here we go. Thanks for tuning in to this special episode of Steelers Fix Daily. Make sure to follow us on all platforms and check out the full article tribute to Dan Rooney, now live on SteelersFix.com. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Steelers Fix signing off. Here we go.